Ladies and gentlemen, how you all doing? This is Con Ulrich.
I'm Angru, low, low, low.
And folks, if you're seeing a banner on your screen right now, do not attempt to adjust your set. This is not a drill. We are actually back in the SD44 Terrible Divisions tournament. It happened, I think, in the last weekend or so, wasn't it, sir?
It's been going on for a little bit, I believe.
Okay, well, our coverage at least began this past weekend. But the point being, is, back on Odon, thank you, Frank, for making me look bad here, sir. Who do we have?
On the left-hand side in blue, we have GreenHD playing 3rd Canadian. On the right-hand side in red, we have Curbs playing as Panzer Lehr.
We're gonna have some Panzers being verfed here, I think, pretty soon. Now, remember, guys, SD44, we don't worry about capture points. That was a great change that got made, and unfortunately, SD44 is just all about that land, man, that Lebensraum. And indeed, we're seeing the Canadians kind of doing what they need to do against Panzer Lehr, throwing enough bodies out in the field until the Panzer Lehr has nothing to throw at them left in Phase A, so...
Yeah, it's really about just the infantry spam of Canadians, seeing as GreenHD is bringing in a whole lot of riflemen to come on through. Curbs doing a very early aggressive push here of the Puma and the 234. Gonna be running afoul of some flamethrowers here, but that thick armor should keep him alive, and the Puma is in a very good spot to try and snipe some of these transports. But hey look, the Panzer Rover will be worth it. Well, not Panzer, but the worth.
Oh, it certainly is the worth, isn't it? Oh my gosh. And
Holy
jeez, oh my
crap.
god, this is the time, okay, this is when you send the infantry in and you try to capture everything. So if he takes this, this match is over.
That's what he's doing. That is such a... Oh, if he can... I'm holding here bated breath.
Oh no, he got cold feet. He could have pushed. He could have taken that fire damage from the morale, and he could have taken so many out of that retreat. Oh my gosh.
God. Yeah, I'm gonna get away for now, but he is gonna get a very advantageous position of holding that small town area, so not too bad. Right now, the nice thing is that there's not much armor on the 3rd Canadian side, so it's 234 and Puma can have a nice field day just dealing with these infantry targets. So I think 234 just went down there to appear.
I think it was this. Oh yeah, you're right. No,
yeah,
was it?
I think it was the Piat.
Yeah, that's not
the only thing close. Yeah.
But he's only 6 rounds. I guess we lost in the squad. I'm sorry, yes, sir?
A lot of Piats in his deck. He does have quite a lot of Piats in his deck, which you definitely kind of need to do as Canadian, since you don't have a whole lot of infantry-based AT. So he's going to definitely have to try and make that rather unreliable anti-tank weapon work.
Yes, that's certainly true. Storage up on the battlefield, and actually, now that I think about it, I don't think I mentioned where we are. We are on Odon here, and a Piat's going out again, and there's the Piat that we know and hate. There we go.
Yeah, I think 251 is probably pretty happy about it.
Also, as a quick reminder again, so once more, folks, armor values and pen values work very differently in this game, so don't expect to see craziness. But just like the Ram, for example, has a pen of 11, and of course, it only has 12 millimeters of armor. No, that's representative, a little bit different, but, you know, we know
arguably a better system in ST2, I would say.
Yes, without a doubt. Just bringing it back out for the long-time viewers who know what's going on. For the first-time people who are just getting here, by the way, welcome. But yeah. So Curbs is kind of doing his thing, you know, backing off a little bit. He's still under that +1 point bleed, which I think is going to be a pretty consistent issue for him.
Yeah, the problem with Panzer Lehr is that, I mean, if you just look at the income, the A phase is slightly better than Canadian, but they're really not getting that Gucci points until they get into C phase. So it's one of those divisions which we don't see it a lot in V1, where you're seeing it in terrible divisions, that it just doesn't really have the same power early on. Late game. So for Curbs, it's really going to come down to just doing decent enough to not completely lose by the first, and then hopefully just having enough heavy armor to push back the enemy once C phase begins.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that later game armor, please. What should we expect to see out of Curbs?
Well, it's a classic, you know, Panzer Lehr. They got Tigers and Panthers. Yeah, no King Tigers, because they're kind of stupid to bring in a 1v1 mostly. But yeah, it's just Tigers, Panthers, and of course those 2-star pioneers. Be quite nice. They do get the vetted infantry as well. We're also seeing also the mortar half-track being brought in. It could be a pretty key unit. Yeah, I'm curious to see how Curbs is going to hold his frontal position with that Panzer Grenadier. He did lose the Puma, and I don't know to what. I'm going to guess it was to So it could be a good time for GreenHD to push back through a central position.
I actually think, upon reflection, there is that 6-pounder to the southwest of the town. Maybe that's what killed the other one, because I know he's got 2 rounds out. One of them got fired at, I believe it was at half-track, but other than that, I cannot say for sure.
Yeah, it would definitely make more sense out of the 6-pounder position. But GreenHD's in a really good position map control-wise. I mean, the southern side, he's managed to get a good amount of territory and hold into that rather nice position, because once you get into that little tree line there of all the infantry is, it's very hard to push it from the red side area. It's way too narrow, it's too much coverage. As you see the 6-pounder being deployed down south, that will definitely deter any armor trying to move up.
Well, and that was the thing I was going to bring up as well. Panzer in the meantime, hitting those frontline positions. Don't think... Oh, no, there is an Opal Blitz. Maybe we'll see the Opal Blitz? Yes, we do. Get that Panzer back into the fray. But yeah, like you were saying, it's really, really difficult to detour around that southern side. That's really the only approach that you've got. And then you see right there we have an MG42 to prevent any, forces from the Canadians moving forward as well.
Yeah. And we do see the 234 going down, so a lot of the heavy firepower in the center is, well, pretty much dead. It's just going to come down to the good use of artillery here from Curbs. It's rather expensive investment early on to get both the Panzer and the mortar half-track, but he's done a decent amount of just keeping GreenHD suppressed. He still hasn't actually moved up into the central village. He's still holding to a small little block, so to speak.
The one thing that is a little bit strange for me is that recon plane was given such free reign over the battle space. I mean, so GreenHD is no stranger to SD44. He's played it for a fair bit of time. In fact, I think we featured him more than our fair share as well. So he knows that Panzer Lehr is not a particularly strong infantry deck. So I guess my question is, do you invest a little bit into that early Spitfire, knowing that the Panzer Lehr probably doesn't have a ton of air power, just because of the nature of the division? Or are you okay with having this kind of thing happen here, where you just have the Panzer Lehr keeping you at a distance?
We don't even really need the Spitfire. Just use SATCOM ZA would have been enough to keep that Storch array. But yeah,
That's
definitely
true.
Just having it flying around, just spotting all your stuff, as it's making quite a short work of the static positions. See, the mortar half-track right now is pounding the 6-pounder. You really don't want to allow that to happen. But even in GreenHD, he's still doing pretty good. It's 55-45, he's got good momentum into the town. And if he was to keep us up, if he can capture a full central position, he should get a +2 point.
Yeah, so guys, I'm going to pull up over my side. I'm sure Rank does the same as well. If you get 58%, you can see +2, +3 is 65, +4 is 75, and if you have more than 75% of the map, one or two things is happening. Either your opponent had a massive coronary, and we wish him the best, or there's an AFK going on. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a +5.
I think we might have seen it once or twice, but it's at one of those points where the enemy has no units left. But it's a very, very, very rare.
Well,
most of the time you just tap out at that point, because you're not gonna get back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm trying to call back to mind. Mostly because, I mean, we've seen the Panzer, we've seen this mortar half-track over on the Panzer Lehr side. And it has me kind of thinking, there's no carpet bombing in this game anymore, isn't it? There's been such a long time since we've hit this. I don't think we're going to see any carpet bombing, are we?
You mean like large bombers?
Yes.
So yeah, you don't usually see them too often, especially in 1v1s, due to the price, really. But, I mean, you still have big bombers, but it's used, really.
Let me rephrase. So we're not going to see any kind of like, oh yes, here's a Junker dropping 95 bomblets across the map and, using the small anti-armor bomblets. I don't think that's in this game, is it?
I think 2nd Panzer gets the Junker 88 with clusters, but most of the other runs are Stukas.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, I mean, the central town position has essentially just gone down here as GreenHD's completely captured it in the area. We've seen that +2. And of course, that early infantry disadvantage to Curbs with, I mean, he has, 6 infantry units, and like proper infantry units in total on A phase to rely on. 4 Panzer Grenadiers, 3 MG42s. it's going to be pretty tough, especially fighting against the infantry spam known as Canadian. And we're also seeing Stort's taking a little bit of ground fire from a Staghound and a Kangaroo, so just enough to probably keep him at bay.
It's pretty impressive to a certain extent. Actually, I do love seeing this pack track coming in. Pack track with a P-Shrek. These were some of the guys I almost kind of wish migrated a little bit more over here to the Eastern Front.
Hey, you don't see it ultra often.
No, you don't.
Such a shame. It's such an awesome little anti-tank combo. You know, you distract him with the half-track anti-tank, and then you flank around with the Panzer track.
That is entirely true. Actually, I wasn't even thinking about it that way, but you're absolutely right. I guess the thing that's kind of funny to me is, I understand this, that you have the +2 already. Do you think GreenHD is just trying to consolidate a little bit more before he continues to move forward here? Or why do you think he's kind of pausing over here on this 50-yard line?
I think he's pretty comfortable where he is. You can't really push anywhere down south. You want to just stay in that defense position. Up north is kind of a push to pain as well, because it is Odon. It's very, well, forestry and not great supply lines up north to really do a push. So really its map usage comes down to the central position. And GreenHD, he's in the best defensive position, just holding the edge of the town. He doesn't need to push. That +2 is going to pretty much keep him, just as long as he doesn't lose majorly later on in the match. He can just sit in for the next 10 minutes B phase, bank at his point, probably be fine.
I think the thing that for me I was trying to check out a little bit is if you go and transition the Piat and that P-Shrek are east-west across from each other.
Oh yeah?
I was just thinking, if you were able to move infantry over into that tree line, you have to at least force back your opponent just that much further, because the next real defensible position, right, that's not going to hit by, you know, AT guns or anything like that, it's another 1,200 meters back, or it's at that, what you call it, northeast line, about 600 or 800 meters that way. So, I mean, I know I'm working with all the information possible here, but for me, I'd like to think I'd be a little bit more, what's the right term here? Frisky with the front lines, but I don't know.
I think that's what GreenHD, he's heard you. He's actually moving a Kangaroo up north here just to try and do a little bit of force projection. So we're going to run afoul of his Panzer IV very shortly.
Well, the Panzer IV actually doesn't really need to worry about too much. He's looking for the infantry, and ooh.
Yeah.
I forgot that the HE on tanks is quite delicious in this game.
It is. It is. So, oh, the Kangaroo ran afoul of a pack first. Yeah, he does spot it, so we'll see if it get blown up to hell and back.
Well, that is one thing that you don't see a huge amount over here on the Canadians side of things, is that you don't see a ton of, you know, kind of like that distance on map arty, which, you know, we definitely have our fair share of things to talk about in SD2, but on map arties always seem to be like, okay, if you're allies, you've got to bring in mortar half-tracks. If you're Germans, you got to bring in mortar half-tracks, but the Canadians don't really have a whole lot of opportunity for that now, do they?
It's quite interesting. He did decide to bring in a lot of off-map artillery. You still can get sections, which are pretty good. They're more for in team games, really, or you can make 1v1s, of course, but it is definitely an interesting call. I think you can definitely make it work. And all the Piat position misses the half-track here, but pretty much stuns up the Panzer Grenadiers, so it's slow down the push a little bit. Really nice sneaky spot. Too bad he didn't get to use it against a tank, for example. But yeah, Kurt's actually starting to build up a force, trying to push back into the central town. He's got quite a lot of light armor to back him up. There's not a whole lot of Canadians in the town anymore, so I think it's going to come down to whether he can deal with the Ram 2 and any potential other armor threats, such as the Wolverines, which is being brought in.
Well, that's a scary thing now, isn't it? Is the Wolverine is more than a match for really the bulk of everything over on the Panzer Lehr side up until that Panther A in C phase.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is that the Wolverine does outrange Panzer IV in this game.
Yes.
I mean, this isn't a great map for long-range fights, but in certain areas you can definitely make the Wolverine work quite well and out at the Panzer IVs. Especially in the one down south, if you can keep moving it back and forth from that, like, well, free line position, you can stop anything moving down the road, which is really the main artery of attack. especially Panzer Lehr, because you need to get your vehicles into the front, and it's pretty hard to get vehicles into the central town.
It certainly is, and actually it's going to get harder still. Because you're looking back at that Opel Blitz, he's down to just above 30% munitions, and that's the only munitions track he's bringing in here, and the Canadians don't even have any.
Yeah, he only has one supply truck.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot, this is SD-44, you don't get them in huge batches, you only get them in like 1 or 2. So, he's really going to have to make his supplies work, because those Panzerwerfers and all of run out of ammo. And he still has 2 rasps he can bring in, so yeah, it's definitely not a great supply position to be in, but I guess it's pretty historically accurate for the German 44.
True. Now, we are discovering that a lot of these northern troops don't really have a lot of support, let's just say. I know the term anti-air fire, the AAA fire in SD-44 is a little bit more wide-ranging, I feel like, than it is in SD-2. With a lot of the Shermans and their variants kind of being able to fire up at them as well. But the northern side, allowing that storage to get a little more of a look-to-see done than anything else, until he starts to run afoul of now the Wolverine.
Yeah, but do you actually have a stat count? Oh no, it's a Lynx, never mind. I thought it was stat count AA by the icon. But yeah, he is just gonna allow it to fly around a little bit, but it's gonna fall back. And I think his torches, his recon planes have been definitely very worthwhile for Curbs, as it's just been mainly spotting for his artillery, and also giving him a good sense of rot on the front line, which is also important.
It certainly is, but I think the one thing I'm concerned about seeing here is Panzer Lehr building up, let's say, that irresistible tank force. That, I'm not going to say was their stock in trade, but it certainly was probably their biggest kind of selling point back in the original game.
Yeah, it was the division you bring in 10v10, so you can bring like 4 King Tigers and then complain to get blown up by the massive air superiority that the Allies get. But speaking of heavy tanks, you're actually seeing our first Tiger being brought in down south. I'm actually rather curious. I mean, in the anti-tank firepower, of course, it will be bloody deadly, but I'm curious to see how much will actually affect the front line, because I don't feel like he has a good chance of really making any aggressive down south. He can only really use that Tiger to try and screen for any pushes to the center.
Yes, and actually I think, yeah, did they have 17 pounders? Yes, they do have 17 pounders, but not for another couple of minutes yet.
Yeah. And yeah, they got Fireflies as well, and Achilles, so the Canadians definitely have the anti-tank firepower to deal with any of this Lehr armor, really, but of course the Lehr armor comes in massive packs, especially once we reach C phase.
It certainly does seem to be the case now, doesn't it?
It does.
Now we've got some dingoes coming in, and actually here's an off-map ram coming in. So, not feeling too sanguine about Panzer Lehr's chances here in the kind of immediate short-term future. If for no other reason than to kind of realize that, well, those front lines are going to get hit pretty hard by some massive 140mm shells.
Yeah. No, definitely slow down any push here for Curbs for the time being. Curbs, at least, has managed to bring it back down to only a +1 point advantage, so it is going to buy him quite a bit of time. To be honest, there's only, what, 21 minutes left in the match, and he's going to have to catch up to a 1,200 point lead, going on to 1,300 now. I think if he's going to bring it back, he's going to need to get a +2 of his own, like, somewhere into C phase, which will be pretty hard, because GreenHD has built up a pretty, like, decent front line, especially in the center here. It's going to be a rather nasty trying to get back to that town.
There's a yes and no moment about this, though. The worst part about breaking the defense is taking out the Piat and the attendant vehicles. Once you bring in those heavy tanks with the Panther, once you bring in the heavy tanks with the Tiger and things like that, rifle squads can't do jack. Again, so SD-44, for those of you who don't remember, the infantry didn't start lobbing grenades down in there. It was kind of like, oh, you're a tank, I will either fire my rifle at you, or I will surrender. It was one or the other. There was really no in between.
Yeah,
so,
especially if Canadians rely so much on support the infantry. It's pretty buggered when there's no support backing them up.
Exactly, and that's kind of what I was going to conclude over here as well, is that, yeah, I mean, it's great that they do have all of those vehicles there. And it's even better to have some of those, 6-pounders, and heck, the potential to call in 17-pounders. But if you can rupture the front quick enough, or you can apply pressure at the right point, Panzer Lehr, the weird thing is, Panzer Lehr always has a chance to come back into it.
Yeah, I'm expecting to see phase now that rather than juicy income. There's not too much of a lead in comparison to Green, who's only at 130, only a 20-point difference or so. But all the juicy toys, of course, you get in Panzer Lehr and Sea Phase, two-star Pioneer, quite nice to have in half track. All of that stuff. So we're gonna have to see how well he manages to make the most out of these 19 minutes that he has left.
Well, there's your stag count AA, by the way. And that Storks is gonna die.
Oh, and also a Triposton as well, so...
Oof, yeah, he's definitely dead.
Yeah, it was a... I think the recon planes aren't gonna be able to do much reconnaissance from here on out. And the off-map coming up north, not hitting the most densely populated area, but enough to cause that Panzer IV to think twice about his current geographical location.
Well, it picks up at 250 as well, so... can't be too ticked off at that. And here we go. And I mean, another point, another percentage point, another percentage point, another percentage point. The rifle leader goes down, you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about, too.
Yeah. And yeah, just all the fire support with the 250/8 and all the armor, and also getting the Tiger up is allowing him to make these maneuvers. Tiger's definitely in a very dangerous position here. I mean, Wolverine could move up and potentially just shoot it at very close range. So, hopefully for Curbs, Tiger doesn't go down to just charging up and getting shot by a Piat or Wolverine. It seems that the Wolverine is coming in for the attack.
It's true, but you forgot one thing, the veterancy.
Oh yeah, does help out quite a bit. The veterancy in this game definitely rather huge difference. And all the Tigers I forgot, pretty much apart from the Paris Division Tigers have 2-star veterancy base.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god, it's just the way he's moving here. I mean, now he's showing his side and rear armor to the Canadians. He's very lucky there's been no anti-tank nearby.
And the Puma I didn't even see has line of sight on it. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, don't push up Tiger. What's wrong with you? No.
Don't.
Oh jeez. It's a 70-ton pillbox. Oh.
Oh. That was, yeah, not the best micro out from Curbs. That was a pretty huge loss on his end. And he's tried to push back into his town, but I believe the off-map has slowed him down a bit, and the Canadians are going to pick up 2 Panzer Grenadiers. So, I mean, GreenHD, I don't feel like he's going to have that huge momentum compared to the early stages of the match, but he doesn't need to. He needs to hold on to the plus run and slow down Curbs.
That is certainly true. Now, I guess the funny thing for me is I'm looking at the Canadian deck in the meantime as we see the first Sea Phase infantry being brought in over here by Curbs in the form of those, what I would probably assume was Pioneers over here to the north.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, just because the 2 stars. Technically, the Canadians don't get any more infantry.
Yeah, they don't. It's really just most of it in beef rifle. But he still has a whole lot to deal with because it's Canadians. You pretty much the classic rifle spam, only really the Scots outmatch you in that regard.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask, how the heck do Canadians breed? Because I feel like this particular deck makes it sound like that we just kind of pop them in the ground and, 3 months later in the depths of winter they come out.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to do during the winter months, to be fair.
I'm going to leave the Yo Mama joke out of this for the time being, but... yeah, I mean, I could definitely, 17-pounder announces its presence by killing that most vicious of beasts, a half-track.
That poor half-track. I'm just looking at the Puma in the central town here. He's between a Wolverine and a flamethrower, which is probably not the best position to be in, of course, but I feel like he is just... Oh, is he gonna get surrendered by the Pioneer?
Oh yeah, yes.
That'd be hilarious.
Oh,
yeah, there you go.
Jerk! You don't let him die. Come on, let him surrender like a mensch.
Yeah, and then he could have took some pictures with Puma.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, geez, looking at that, I forgot how good the flames actually look in this game. I won't lie.
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain wistfulness to it. It's like a nostalgic kind of thing.
Yeah. But I do like how Curbs is trying to push, not directly for the central position of town, but just north of it. He has got quite a good light armored vehicle push with all the half tracks. But the infantry are getting pinned down. He doesn't have any proper tanks in the area. And yeah, GreenHD decides him in a pretty good killing field, so to speak, when we are seeing that first Firefly being brought. So, and it isn't really looking that good for Curbs. There's only 14 minutes left on the dock, and it just doesn't have that momentum, it feels like, even though he is bringing in a lot of tanks.
Shockingly enough, I felt like his Panzerwerfer was actually hitting his own troops.
I wouldn't be surprised.
That's not how you motivate your men, Curbs.
Maybe he's using his Panzerwerfer as a blocking detachment. But a very expensive blocking detachment.
And Panzer Lehr doesn't really have a whole lot of guys to block in the first place.
Yeah.
I am surprised that this artillery has been there the entire match, though.
And still shooting. I mean, that supply truck has managed to make its money's worth, at least. I think Curbs has definitely been a little bit more precarious in what he's shooting, of course, due to that supply situation. You can only get one more barrage out of that Panzerwerfer, and it'll only be 3 rockets. So those 3 rockets better be bloody deadly.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is there were probably 1 or 2 barrages they end up throwing away. And that's just by virtue of the fact of just the recon plane being shooed away or troops being moved around. But overall, it has been a rather deliciously well done job with that Panzerwerfer.
He's definitely been one of the MVPs for Curbs along with the recon plane. No, it is a shame that he doesn't have any more supplies for it, because we've got a rather, juicy clump of Canadians in town position that he can almost finish off. So, actually, it's looking like Curbs is really starting to get that momentum now. I mean, that town is almost finished. There's not a whole lot of Canadians left in there. It's just about whether he can exploit and make a big push through. And, the Panzer IV shooting on the supply road. He has a lot of Panzer IVs. Like, he could make his work with his Panzer IV platoon.
And, an MG-42 who can actually do something. What a novel idea. He's carving up that 17-pounder, and the 17-pounder gets saved by the unfortunate intervention of a rifle squad.
Yep. Yeah. Curbs is, looking at the map, there's a lot more powerful red units on the field than it is blue, so to speak. We do have 2 Fireflies, but that's going to be the real main threat. And by its close range, the Panzer IV is a pretty even fight.
It certainly is.
I do like how his northern push, he's trying to flank around. The Panzer IV, does have its rapid jam, so it's definitely going to slow down. But with only 11 minutes left, I mean, he still has to catch up to 1,800 points, which I don't think he's going to be able to do, frankly.
He might be able to pull a draw.
Yeah, that'd be his best bet. But he's gonna need like +2, +3 starting now to really get that to happen.
True.
Which could happen. I mean, this northern side is... I mean, the Canadians are almost in a pocket here.
They certainly seem to be, and that's going to be the first tickets, I think, coming over here for Panzer Lehr in the next couple of seconds. Assume this P-Grand rush, or the Pioneer rushing. No, P-Grand. And that just to the northwest of the central part of that town.
Yep.
Oof, never mind. Surrenders. Here it comes.
Oh, they're gonna get away just in the nick of time. Panzer IV's gonna be engaging the Firefly. He was only a run-on-run, not managing to take advantage of the numbers he had yet, so I think he is gonna lose one Panzer IV, which will be not ideal. Oh, he loses... Oh yeah, that's
second one. No, that's 2.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the P4 going after that Piat. You know, it is nice to see one thing, though, about the Piat, and that's, it doesn't matter if you're on the east or the west, if there's any Piat, it's still pretty worthless.
Yeah. It's just always that 50-50 coin flip.
And I'm not really a gambling man, I don't know about you.
Especially if your life is on the line when trying to blow up German heavy armored vehicles with charge and transition. I'd be like, could you just get me a bazooka, mate?
Exactly. Exactly. Or you know what? I'll even take like one of those bamboo sticks with a mine on the end of it.
The Japanese late war anti-tank weapon. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a 100% mortality rate for the coup guys that are using it, but, you know.
Ain't no more tank.
Exactly.
Down south here, we are seeing Curbs trying to maneuver a little bit, trying to play along this area. I don't think he's going to make too much progress here. I mean, the Pioneer's meant to clear that tree line at least, but he has no armor nearby to really take advantage. And even then, we got a sneaky 6-pounder with just shoot anything that comes down the road.
Now, there's a piece of that that wonders if he already knows about that 6-pounder, or if he's just kind of keeping it there. It's like, yeah, it's an open secret. We both know it's there, but a new...
Yeah, it's really coming down to this central push here. And GreenHD has managed to get a little bit of momentum back. He's pouring in the rifleman to try and plug up his toll. And he still has 2 Fireflies as well as a Sherman up north, which is a good amount of armor to counter any of these curbs of Panzer Force push.
Wait, you think he's trying to curb Curbs' enthusiasm?
Indeed.
Okay.
Indeed he is, Khan. I have no other way to say it. I think that was the best way you could have put that.
Yes, and those Panzers were trying to come out of their lair. That's definitely true, too. I don't know how. We've had this game in SD2 for so many years, and I don't think I've ever made that kind of joke before. I mean, that was even a half one, the better material, I'm sure, in the future, but...
You just have the technology to make it, I guess.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm stunned and amazed. Kind of like that Pac 40 bouncing shots off of that Achilles over there. Firefly. Wow, excuse me. Yeah, Firefly.
Did it get a kill? Yeah, there we go. That's a pretty good kill, but it's still another Firefly as well as a Wolverine. So GreenHD still has enough armor support to keep him at bay. Oh, Wolverine goes down. If he can get his last Firefly, it could be something.
Could we see the greatest turnaround in SD44 recent history?
I don't know. I mean, it's really just coming down to that Firefly because the Canadians have nothing else in that front line apart from... Oh, we have a Sherman up north still. And it's still the air power. And I think our air power is going to be enough to blow up the pack. No, barely survives 1 HP.
I'm sorry, I was watching the Focke-Wulf down below trying to go after that 6-pounder. Doesn't kill it, though.
Wow. Didn't even kill a single guy, I believe. That's pretty pathetic. And the Spitfire... Oh, a Typhoon, my bad. Managed to shoot down the Focke-Wulf, so... Rather nice intercept.
And the off-map gets picked off by a really razor-thin line of sight there.
Holy crap, yeah. We got about Normandy of just how the buildings are set up. It's because of the small scale. Like, I remember a few matches where I'd, like, you know, thread a Pac 40 through, like, a very tiny line of sight to try and snipe a Sherman in between, like, 2, like, very narrow buildings. I think that'd be very hard to do in real life, but hey, sort of isn't logic for you.
Yeah, but you know, if you hit that, even if you hit the building a few times, eventually the building's not a problem.
Yeah, you know, just clear it out.
Yeah, if you first don't succeed, fry again.
But yeah, we got the +1 there finally from Curb, so he's going to be gaining some points, but at his point, he needs like a +4. That's really just the truth of the matter, and I don't feel like it's going to happen. He does have a Tiger up north, so if he can kill that Sherman, yeah, it does potentially open up some doors of aggression, but I feel like GreenHD is just going to have enough to slow down Curbs for the next 6 minutes.
True. I think, though, that... Oof, yeah, especially if that Firefly continues to pick off opposing AFVs here. P-Shrek is going to get one shot off and he's going to die before he gets a second. No. He gets the other shot off.
Wow. Jeez. Don't even need the Tiger and he got that Panzer Shrek, yeah. Under so much fire. Still being able to deliver the payload. Piat, take... But speaking of it, I mean, that Piat flanking up north could potentially blow up that Tiger. He's going to get behind the tree line. It's going to be about, I think Puma spotted him that line.
Yeah, he did. But another bombing going in. The Tiger, I will say, the air effect on vehicles in this is a little bit less hefty than it is in SD2.
Yeah, yeah. It all depends on the bombing run. Of course, the veteran shield, tanks make them rather survivable. But holy,
There actually is a chance. If he gets a +3,
a chance.
he might be able to pull a draw.
I mean, just GreenHD hasn't nothing on the field. Where did it all go, Khan? It all just disappeared, like some weird magic act. But we have like all the tigers now. I mean, you still have this one pocket of resistance. It's not much resistance, but if he can clear it out, that should give him the +3.
Yes, it will.
And he's pushing into open ground territory, which is what those big cats like. It's only 4 minutes. I don't think he... maybe if he gets that +3 like you said.
Surely not. Yeah, you're absolutely... especially when the Piat's engaging... Ooh, Piat's engaging that tiger and bouncing. Oh my gosh.
Jumping out the building, gonna go down to the tiger. And it's gonna pretty much clear out the anti-tank threat. The Sherman is completely outgunned. 2 tigers and Puma on the field. He's not in the best position.
64.
And yeah, down south, it's just infantry. And that 1 6-pounder. But even then, that 1 6-pounder I don't be enough to hold off that entire push.
Well, there's 1 6-pounder, but it's a 1 guy on a 6-pounder too. So even if he takes out one of the vehicles that's right there, say he takes out the P4, okay. There's still basically what amounts to an anti-air half-track back over here as well. This might be a moment where we have that +4 or +5 AFK moment.
It could be. Like, it's like GreenHD has nothing on the field.
No,
like,
he doesn't.
Nothing. And then one soap pioneers, once that soap pioneer goes down, that's to give him a good chunk of territory. Yeah, he goes. The one pioneer taking it like a champ to allow all his buddies to spot. And he has the +3, but still GreenHD is going to get the victory just due to a huge point advantage he got early on. So it's going to have to come down to like a +4 or +5.
But it's possible.
It is possible, but I still think it's kind of unlikely with only 2.5 minutes left. But still, I'm very curious to see what Curb's point count will be after the match. Victory points. Because I feel like he's going to get very close.
Well, now we have Kangaroo down south duking it out with basically what amounts to an anti-air half-track. +4, sort of, maybe. I wonder if he had pulled the +4 60 seconds sooner. I feel like that might have been enough, because think about it. 4 times 60 is another what?
That's 240 points a minute.
Maybe, you know, maybe
and
I'm completely wrong here.
Yeah.
Because I think the draw, I cannot remember the difference of the draw. I think it was 100 on either side, wasn't it?
I think it's like a 10% different.
This is crazy. This is one of those things that if there is in fact like an 85% that is a +5, that'd be insane, first of all. And second of all, it'd be kind of funny in the light of the remark that I had made previously.
Yeah, but Curbs is really going for the end zone here. But I think it's a pretty good example. Even though Curbs is completely stomping right now, where you don't see Panzer Lehr in 1v1, terrible tournament, that like you do build up this awesome momentum, but the match is over. You just like as we've seen in SD44 replays for years, is that, and really all like D2 comes down to the first 20. Really, A phase, B phase push is also vital in getting that good position. Just really leading the initial stages of. And as we see, even with such a, GreenHD had such a good point lead early on. Yeah, it doesn't matter if he was on the toilet, right? He would still win.
Yeah, and you kind of wonder if he's just kind of dancing right now. Like,
yeah.
He's got no army left. I mean, technically the division would never fight again if this is a multi-day campaign. But we aren't playing that campaign. We aren't playing on the Eastern Front now. And there's that... Come on, give me that +5. You don't tease me. You just had it right there. Come on. But well done. I would have been freaking out. I've been trying to frantically be doing math here. Can he win if he pulls this kind of thing? Really, really well done. I didn't expect that at all.
Yeah, if Curbs just... I would say, of course, if he didn't bleed as many points early on and didn't lose by a +2, I think he would have run this match, of course, but, I mean, that's so far back, would have probably affected the rest of the match. But still, I mean, seeing this just massive land grab so late is always quite nice to see. But yeah, here we go with the GG, and damn, that was the kills. Oh god, that was. Well, of course, it's like that, man. Because
yeah, well, at the end, yeah, he could do no wrong. Ram over here got 4 kills, Field Battery 5 kills, 6 Pounder 4 kills. There's a lot of very sterling work being done over here from the Canadian side.
Mm-hmm. Enough to just hold back. I mean, goddamn it, Firefly not 3 Panzer IVs. That's a pretty damn efficient. But yeah, of course, Puma doing pretty good early on. The Panzerwerfer mainly just blowing up flamethrowers of all things. I guess that makes sense because only 2 men.
Yeah.
And same with the PS. Decided to kill the largest proj.
Well, you can see how many guys he sent to ground, though, too. He probably had 40 or 50 pins.
Yeah, which is definitely worthwhile, especially in an early push.
Yes, you're right. It definitely is worthwhile. Your silence, I'm going to just drink in your disappointment.
Laughing. Oh god, that was...
Panzer for the meantime, Ludwig over here, moving on.
Ludwig, yeah, the Panzer IV is really good, all things considering. But I think also as well, a lot of that's kill pattern towards the end.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and we can see that in the first, maybe... Oh, wow. Theoretically, early on, it should have been a crazy Panzer Lehr advantage, but no.
Nope. He didn't manage to get, like, a big surrender. Those guys managed to get away, unfortunately.
Actually,
like, he was...
Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I think if he would have got that surrender and knocked out his forces out, the initial infantry in that central position, he would have been in a much better position, but he was just so close yet so far.
Exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, crazy comeback, but not enough to get the victory, unfortunately, for the Curbs.
But you know what? Thrilling game all the same. And I'm sure a lot of people have been like, yeah, I see how this is going, and they would just kind of jump ahead. Oh my gosh, it got that close? Like, guys, this is why you don't give in until, that larger opera singer is ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
But we're continuing actually our coverage of this, I think, over on Thursday, aren't we, sir?
Yep.
So, folks, definitely come back for another match of the ST44 Terrible Divisions Tournament. And until then, though, I'm Con Ulrich.
I'm Mangaroo. Take it easy.